and also try and track, you know, the thought that they could never find this plane just doesn't compute, does it at all for you?
Well, actually, in fact, there's about an average of one plane a year that's been lost since 1948, never found. Nothing quite of this scale, and certainly nothing in recent history, but it does happen. So just to reassure you, we wanted to show you that flights, in fact, are getting a lot safer. And if you go all the way back into the 1980s and 70s, we were losing about 2,500 people sometimes a year worldwide in flights. That's down to 500 at the moment, even as the number of people flying has gotten up to close to 3 billion. So on a worldwide basis, 500 people die a year, perhaps 3 billion people nearly fly a year. So then you move on from there to the next question of, well, where do these accidents happen? And this relates to Flight 370, because the fact is that there are really what pilots call 3 phases of flight. There's the takeoff, cruise, and landing. And as you can see, cruise, which is where this accident seems to have at least begun, is only a very small percentage of flights. Planes do not fall out of the sky. There was something like 7 planes over the last 12 years that actually crashed during the cruise flight. Landing is the most dangerous, as you might imagine, and then takeoff is third.
So this makes it even more mysterious. I mean, I've heard this before when I'm like digging my fingernails into your arm or Joe's arm when we're bumping around in midair heading to some location to cover a primary, because I get sick to my stomach when we hit turbulence. They're the worst things come to my mind. And you guys always tell me planes don't fall out of the sky.
But doesn't it make it then less mysterious? Because what it does then is it points not to mechanical stuff. It points
that's the point. The point is that even this idea that the plane went up to 45,000 feet and somehow depressurized, very unlikely. These planes are built to take enormous amounts of abuse, way past anything that might ever occur. So let's talk for a second, we did before, about how you might find one of these planes. And there are 4 or 5 signaling devices on these planes. There's the famous black box, which we've talked a little bit about, which carries, which lasts for 30 days, but it only has a signal range of 15 miles, so you have to be really close to it to find it. There are life rafts, also have signaling devices on them, but there weren't any found in this case. And then you have the transponders we talked about that were switched off in this case, that emit a discrete code that allow the ground radar to find it. Even when they're switched off, you have what's called primary radar, which is the ability to see a plane even without a transponder. The civilian radar had trouble doing that. Military radar in Malaysia did see it, but they didn't do anything about it. And then finally, you have the system called ACARS that we've been talking about, which are these pings that these planes put out about every hour. And this system, the data part of it, it's like a text messaging service for planes. The data part was turned off, but the little pings kept going for 7 more hours.
Wow.
And it's just 1 an hour, right?
It's 1 an hour when it's in sort of standby mode.
But the wide swath of possibility as to where this might be, I do think makes it's incredibly difficult. Possible causes. What are we looking at?
Well, there's really 3 possible. Let's look at the search area, because this is really the question hand. Well, we're looking at possible causes, I guess, first. There are really 3 possible causes. One is equipment malfunction. I think we can rule that out. Somewhere between crew intervention and hijacking is where I think you're going to find the problem. Either a passenger who, like a 9/11, who was equipped to fly this plane, or the crew who somehow took it over. As I said earlier, the question is, why did they take over this plane, fly it for 7 more hours, we think to the south in the direction of nowhere, until they finally ran out of fuel. And so you end up with this vast search area that we can take a quick look at, perhaps, which starts with where the plane took off, this little black dot down here.
Why do you think it went south?
Because it had really 2 choices. This satellite over here, this is an Inmarsat satellite. It has the ability to see the distance from the plane, so it creates like a radius, but it doesn't know the direction. The reason they think it went south is because up in the north, you pass over a lot of countries like China, like India, like Pakistan, that have sophisticated radar that would have seen this plane. And so the conclusion is it probably went to the south, out into the Indian Ocean, where there's basically nothing.
Are we sure of that, since there's reports that the Indians, for example, turned off their radars at night in some cases to save money?
We're not sure of anything. We're not sure of anything, but I think the conventional wisdom at the moment. Now, by the way, the Malaysians have done about as job as you could do of providing information, of ensuring its accuracy, and of actually making us feel like they know what they're doing.
And that just lends itself to conspiracy theories about what really could have happened, potentially. What people talking about some cases of maybe this plane landing somewhere and wild conspiracies online of what people are
Oh,
talking
the
about.
conspiracies are amazing when you read it. And it also probably takes out of the picture the idea that there's just a bomb that blew up, some kind of sabotage like that. It does seem to be a human intervention in the cockpit by one or more unknown persons.
Steve, thank you.